Hi, my name is Carol Williams, and I'm here on Veterans Issues at CAN TV 21 here in Chicago, representing our nonprofit organization called the United States Veterans Art Program. We're happy to be here at CAN TV, where they have every Thursday from 6:30 to 7 dedicated to veterans issues. We're one of the rotating consortium. This is a call-in hotline live TV show, so if you'd like to call in and ask questions, comments about what we're talking about tonight, you'll see the number on your screen. It's 312-738-1060. United States Veterans Art Program was started in 2003 by a Vietnam veteran named Kimo Williams. I am an Army veteran myself also, but what we'd like to do is highlight veterans who are artists. Our mission is to increase the representation of veterans in the arts community. One of the ways that we do that is we interview, highlight, feature people who are artists, who are veterans, artists of all kinds, whether they're musicians, painters, writers. Tonight we have a sculptor, and show what they do. They get an opportunity to tell you what they do. Sometimes people have a relationship between their art and their military service. Sometimes not. It doesn't make any difference to us. We like to hear about what they're doing and show you, the viewers in Chicago, what veterans who are artists are doing here in Chicago. We also have a program where we donate artistic tools to service organizations. Generally, we work with VA medical centers and other state organizations that are for veterans. We have worked with the Jesse Brown VA Recreation Therapy Department, as well as 3 different centers in Texas, in Vermont. This month we're traveling up to Minnesota and work with 5 different state and VA federal organizations, medical centers there. Recreation therapy in the VA and in state veterans institutions are the norm at every single facility. They work with people on any number of different mediums. At Jesse Brown, they have a music therapist and an art therapist and recreation therapy. They do any number of things that are tailored to at sometimes provide assistance with small motor skills. Sometimes it's just a lesson in frustration, as one of the recreation therapists said to me one time. Sometimes it's actually teaching. Sometimes it's using what people already do. Sometimes it's actually behavioral therapy, where you actually look at what it is that you do and how you interact with other people through doing something together. We've donated everything from art supplies to computers for graphic arts to, of course, music equipment, to cameras a couple times. Anything that lets people who are veterans or service members say what they want to say, do what they want to do in a different type of language other than just speaking it in English sometimes is a better way to get your message across. Again, if you'd like to call CAN TV, the number on your screen is 312-738-1060. I'm going to show you our contact information with the United States Veterans Arts Program. Our website is www.usvap.org. Our email is admin@usvap.org. You can even give us a call if you'd like to, 312-360-9117. I have with me today as a guest someone who we also have some visual work from, and I'm going to introduce him to you right now. This is
Mike Helbing. I'm a sculptor, primarily in metal, but other things. Anything I need.
I can't imagine a more intimidating art form than sculpting. I would imagine it would be something that would require more of a a visual approach to things than I could even imagine doing on a canvas or on a piece of paper.
Well, agreed. But the interesting thing about it is, like, it's a time where you can draw in 3 dimensions rather than flat.
Well, let's talk about how you got started doing that. You told me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up again?
It was kind of a mixed bag. Born in Elmhurst, I was there 2 months.
Chicago area then.
Yeah, I'm a native of Elmhurst, and I left there when I was 2 months old and didn't get back for 55 years.
Okay.
So when I read native of Elmhurst, I'm like, yeah, okay. Then went to Milwaukee, and then to Indiana, then to New York, then back to Indiana, then to Long Island, back to Indiana, back to Long Island and New York, and then back to Indiana.
Well, Vietnam was somewhere in the middle of all those moves.
That was after all those back and forths. And then I went to Purdue, decided I didn't really want to be an engineer, and started to take up art at that time. I always loved it. Didn't take art in high school because they made turkeys for Thanksgiving.
Oh, sure.
It was like, hey, this is serious
Too structured,
stuff.
too,
Well,
right?
yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do finger turkeys. I never did finger turkeys. I'd never done a finger turkey. But, so
So you were at Purdue.
I was at Purdue, and then decided that had an opportunity to go to New York, couldn't do that, and because the draft was in full swing, and then I left there.
And this was in 1969?
Well, I
68?
I went in 68. Went to Vietnam in 69, and I guess you'd say winter of 69, and as soon as you get there, it's summer.
Right.
But and then got out of there in end of March 1970.
So what did you do when you were in Vietnam? Obviously nothing that was related to working with metal, or...
Oh, no.
You did?
No.
I mean, not as a sculpture, but
Yeah.
certainly as something that is metal related?
Well, in off times, I would take old radio antennas.
Because you are a radio mechanic?
Right, and then I'd take instead of throwing them away, I mean, these are very nice lineal things, and I made sculptures and stuff out of radio antennas.
Do you have
And
anything
rubber.
left from what you made when you were in Vietnam?
No, the only thing I have is a rubber ball about so big, a solid rubber ball, because we were in a rubber plantation, and you could
Really?
make big solid rubber balls.
Wow. Well, you were there from 69 and 70, and you called what you did to, when you went into the Army, you called it the voluntary draft.
Basically, yeah,
Made
it
a
was.
deal.
They had 2-year RA at that time, which regular Army, which you got to choose nothing. You went through all the tests, and then you went through basic, and during that time, they wanted me to go OCS, and I said, well, what's this deal? And they said, 2 years after you get out of OCS. And I went, wait a minute, no, I'm in here for 2 years.
Right. So
No.
that put the limit on that one.
Yeah, I was like, no,
Right.
I don't want to,
Right.
so I didn't.
Well, I think that I wanted to also ask you a little bit about other things that you've done that you put on your website, such as being a waiter, a factory worker, a surveyor, a sewer inspector, a float builder, besides being a sculptor, obviously.
Well, always an artist, but then, building floats is peripheral. It's
Well, who were you building floats for?
a float company that had contracts with
Okay.
the Indianapolis 500.
I had no idea there was such a thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, they build them someplace. There's another one in town here.
Well, I think my point to bring this up to the audience, to viewers, is to let them know that there's a lot of other things that you've done in your pursuit of being an artist and continuing to be a sculptor, that it's not just that you decide one day that you're going to be a sculptor and things work out. You had indicated to me at one point that that being in the service did somewhat influence some of the sculptures that you've done, some of the ways that you work, and I wanted to see if you would want to tell the audience anything about that.
It's interesting. I look at the things that I did before I went into military and Vietnam, and most of it is realistic, somewhat symbolistic in certain pieces, but more concerned with realism. And I found at least in my idea of a war zone, it's kind of like everything's backwards and upside down and not the same as you think the world really is, because it's not, so you have to construct your own world and your own reality that works for you, because the one that you were taught does not hold true.
It's not good coping skills, I take it then. Whatever it is that you did before doesn't necessarily give you an ability to cope when you're in a situation like that. You have to develop an entirely new way of...
Yeah, I mean, your whole moral fabric that you're taught as a, little creature that grows up. Don't kill anybody, don't destroy stuff, and then it's like, oh, you kill some people and destroy stuff, we'll give you a medal. Okay, sounds like a plan to me. And then you have friends that are there one day and then they're not. Sometimes somebody standing next to you is gone. So it's this kind of, and a lot of it, I think, is luck. It is not, it's skill and all that stuff, but sometimes it's just pure luck.
Right.
And,
well, someone did compile some statistics on how many people of the 56,000 casualties, deaths in Vietnam. Some certain percentage of those were killed on the first day that they were there. And then there's someone actually figured out the percentage of how many people were killed on their last day, which makes it a little bit more poignant, although...
and then there's a whole bunch in the middle.
Right. Well, I was going to ask you if you wanted to talk about your any of your sculptures that we have.
Sure, yes.
And I don't know the name of this one. We're going to go to the overhead and hope that we can get a good view of this.
This is actually there's a series that I've done of kind of like abstract women based on the victory at Samothrace or Samothrace with, their kind of architectural, the winged victory thing. And that's pretty much what this one alludes to. It's out of hand-formed, crumpled stainless steel with found objects welded to it and fire patinaed, so that it brings out the color.
It is really a beautiful color.
You can really pull it out.
Well, it when you say it's crumpled, what's the material in there? Crumpled what?
Stainless steel.
Stainless steel.
It's about maybe 26 gauge stainless. A thin, not foil, more like pie pan thickness.
But just looking at it makes a person wonder how you can get it to look so random, but yet we know that you didn't do that with your fist, just to crumple it up. Hammers on air. So. Well, we're going to find another one of your pieces to look at, and is there?
There's one there.
We're going to look at one of your outdoor works here.
Okay.
This is obviously in a gorgeous park. Outdoors. Can you tell us about that?
That's another one that's based on that victory the victory, winged victory. This is crumpled metal. I bought a stainless steel tank that was crushed.
Really?
Yeah, and then cut it apart and reassembled the parts. And then on some other views of this, which I didn't bring, there's rods and stainless steel bars, just like you reassemble a stone piece. Archaeologically, you might not find all of it, but here's a head, and then they put some rods in between, and here's part of the torso. So this is that whole. It's at that point I was developing crumpling metal and how to use it in different things. Eventually, some of them became clouds, because that goes way back.
Well, tell me, you said that you made this out of a tank that you got parts for. You're talking about an entire tank, right?
Well, it was like some kind of milk tank or fuel tank or something like that.
Not a big.
No, not a M60.
Here now, I had visions of you tearing this thing apart in some studio.
That'd be thicker.
Here's the next one that we're going to talk about. This is really, really gorgeous in a very whimsical way.
This is called Road Trip Rocket 88. It's kind of based on the some hubcaps and other assembled metal, and basically not fire patine, but it's to do that freedom of the road back in the late 50s when you had an Oldsmobile V8 and you're cruising down the road at 80 mile an hour, maybe 75, and just kind of like, well, open beer in your seat.
Where is this sculpture right now?
That's in a private collection of the head of the Berwyn Arts Council.
Is it something that they could put on the wall?
Yeah, it's a wall piece.
Okay, because I know that not all sculptures are going to work on the wall.
No, I like to do some that are wall pieces because, people usually have tables and chairs and stuff like that on the floor, but the walls are empty. And then sculpture used to be bas relief too.
Right.
So that's basically a bas relief that can go over your couch or,
Well, it looked really dramatic on a black background. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, it's most
Tell
people.
us a little bit about this one.
This is one about 1996. It's called Ascend the Wind. On the bottom of it are little stair steps that you kind of you can't really, but mentally you could climb up that into this flowing form, which is kind of an abstraction of a jet, because it's like, okay, I want to go to San Francisco. And luckily, we live in a time where, 3 hours or 2.5 hours we're in San Francisco, whereas...
You're talking about the actual time in flight, not on the tarmac, right?
Yeah. This is pre...
Taxiing.
Pre-security. Back when hopping in an airplane was basically you walked up and hopped in an airplane. But the sense of freedom, so you're riding this wind that's like 660 mile an hour, whereas 150, 200 years ago, you had to walk there.
Right.
Take you, instead of 3 hours, it'd take you 3.5 months through Indian territory, which could be dangerous.
That's true, and then maybe one of your sculptures would actually be really convenient to have to use as
that'd be a big
weapon.
one, but yeah. I have made weapons out of stainless. I like stainless steel. It's very tasty stuff. Feels good.
Your sculpture looks very tactile, something that you'd really want to feel as well as to look at. This is Mike Helbing, and we're talking here with the United States Veterans Arts Program. This is CAN TV 21, obviously, if you're watching.